Maybe just go through it one more time as a refresher.
Okay, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to go through it one more time, and then I want you to do it on Thursday. We'll devote our class Thursday to you doing that, and you can use your class time to do that on Thursday. Okay, instead of Zoom, you can do that. I'll probably go ahead and log on to the Zoom just in case any of you wanted to contact me and have if you had a question or something about how to do it. But otherwise, you don't have to go on to Zoom Thursday. You just go on and do your thing. So let's say that okay, my screen is already being shared. So if I go back to the college website and I click on library resources, okay, then it's asking me to sign in again. I don't know why it does that, but it does. And then you come to the library page, right, for library resources. And there's a lot of different areas there that they're available to help you. Like they can do these guides for you, or they have guides done on certain subjects already. I want you to actually go in and look at an article and find an article yourself. Now, after you've done that, if you want to work with the librarian and use guides where they've already, like let's say your topic is, I think one of them was homelessness, right? Well, there's a good chance that the librarian has already done a guide on something like that. So, well, here's a lot of topics, right? And there probably are subtopics under there maybe that they've done the guides. They've done the guides on. Okay, so that's a common thing I've seen in a lot of university libraries. The librarians will put together a collection of material to make it fast and easy for students to find what they need. Isn't that nice? I think it is. So, but what I want you to do is to find it cold turkey yourself at least one time, right? So I want you to have that experience. So this middle box at the top where it says library research databases, you're doing research. So you want to use some of these databases, and you could use any of them really. But I think that one of the ones that you're going to have the most luck with, from my personal experience, is this one called Academic Search Complete. Now, I've had pretty good luck with Gestor before for sociological terms. You probably don't want the New York Times. Why do you not want the New York Times? Not that there's anything wrong with the New York Times. And I think it's really cool that you and I, have free access to the New York Times, right, through the college, which is cool. You can go, if you haven't done it, you can go in there, sign up, and then you can read it online for free and search, for topics in the New York Times for free, if I understand it right. Now, I signed up for it, but I haven't tried to search yet in there. But the problem with that is that it's not a refereed article, right? It's a newspaper article. It's not a journal. So no matter how you may see a reference in a newspaper article to a research project, but what you need to do then, once you find that, once you see that, go look up that actual research project that the reporter referred to in the newspaper, rather than don't quote the newspaper, because that is secondary. That's a secondary resource. You want what we call a primary resource. So you want to go to the actual study. You want to get articles where people have done actual studies and reported the actual findings of their actual studies. You don't want to go to articles where people tell you about somebody else's study, right? You want to go and get the primary research. That's what professional researchers have to do. That's what you have to do as a student scholar. That's what scholars do. Now, the other ones, like you could go to Wikipedia and you could see all kind of information about your topic, and it may refer to some studies, and all you got to do is say, oh, there's the study that somebody wrote about it in Wikipedia. I'll just go to that actual study, and sometimes they'll even have that in the bibliography, what article they were referring to in their write-up about it. And they may or may not have described it correctly in Wikipedia. That's why you can't use Wikipedia as a source. They may have or may not have. They may not have described it. Even though they've referred to a real research study, they may have misunderstood the study, misquoted the study, misrepresented the study, even unintentionally. So you go directly to the study. All right. So that's important. So I think this one called Academic Search Complete, I'm going to show you that one because I've had the most luck. I've had a lot of good luck with that. Now, in some universities, they have a system where you can just do a search and it'll connect a whole bunch of these databases together and search them all at one time. And sometimes when you do that, you'll come up with the same article 3 or 4 times because it might be available in like 4 different databases, but you don't have to search 4 times. You find what you're looking for with one big search. In your case, it looks like you need to pick which database you want to search. So I would start with this one. All right. And then you come up with this simple search template that'll help you search for topics. And you can use Boolean phrases, which I'm not going to do to start with, but if you may find that you need to as you go along. And those are when you use like and, or, you can do it so that it will narrow down your search with a Boolean phrase. So if you do, I want nursing and elementary school, because maybe you're studying nursing in elementary schools, elementary school nurses and what they do there. Then what it's going to do is it's going to give you thousands upon thousands of articles, because it'll give you all the articles about nursing, no matter what kind of nursing, and all the articles about elementary schools. So, or if you do, if you do nursing or elementary schools, it will do that. If you do nursing and elementary school, then it'll only give you those articles that have both of those things in the topic, okay? Or in the title, or whichever part of the article you're searching. And so that's how you can narrow it down quite a bit, right? With a Boolean search. So let's say we're looking on it for a topic. And let's say that the social problem is school shootings. Maybe that's what I'm interested in, is school shootings. So I type that in, and I can select a field, or it'll just broadly look. So if I select a field, I could say I only want ones with the word school shootings in the title. Sometimes when you're looking for when I remember this article I found and it said blah, 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 school shootings, but I don't remember the rest of it. But you remember part of the title, you could find it that way. I'm going to just leave it and let it search them all. You could also search the content or the abstract or whatever, the title, the text, all the text in the thing, just subjects that are associated with it. You can do that, but I'm just going to let it search everything. Okay, to start out with and see what we come up with. However, I am going to go ahead and limit my search because I know that I don't have much time in the semester, and the professor has told me that using just the articles that are available in my library will be acceptable. I don't have to find all the possible articles out there in the world. When you do your dissertation, you're going to have to find all the articles in the world, okay? And you wouldn't be able to do this. But since we're not going to worry about that, we can click full text. So it'll only show me now those articles where the full text is available for me to download from the library. There may be many times more articles about your topic than the ones that you find that don't have the full text. All they have is an abstract. So if you can't find what you're looking for, you could do it without that box checked, and it'll give you abstracts for ones. And usually what your library can do for you then is an interlibrary loan type situation. Whereas if it's a book, then they would request the book from another library, and the library would send the book to them, and then they would have it ready for you to pick up at the library. But if it's an article, then what happens is the other library that has the article makes a photocopy of it, scans it, and sends the scanned copy, a PDF, to you directly. Okay. And so, because sometimes there's articles that are not digitized, but they're in a library somewhere on a shelf in a journal in print form. And they'll actually go find that journal, take it down, scan it for you, and send it to you if you request it. But that usually takes sometimes up to a couple of weeks to do that. And if you're near the end of the term and your paper is due pretty soon, you don't have time to wait for that. And so, and I'm going to say to you, go ahead and just use full text, and we're going to see if we can do, I think we can do what we need to do in this course with full text ones that are available at your library. The second box you want to check always in a research, when you're doing research, a research article, you're writing a research paper, is peer reviewed. Now, sometimes in some databases, instead of peer reviewed, it might have the word refereed, and that just means the same thing. And what that means is that when somebody does, when a researcher conducts a research project and then writes it up as an article, they send it to the appropriate journals one at a time. They send it to an appropriate journal that they think might be interested in it. Sometimes journals actually put out a bulletin saying we're interested in research on XY topic that we're going to publish in XY month, down the road. And that's a good one to consider when you're sending your research out. But the researchers will conduct their research and write up their findings in an article, and then send it to the appropriate journal. The journal editors then will take a look at it, and they'll remove the person's name, the author's name, and they'll remove their school affiliation, because maybe it's a prestigious person that's world famous, or maybe the school that they work at is a world famous school, okay? And there may be a lot of prestige associated with it that would influence the reviewers, unduly. So they take off the names, so the people that then review it later to decide if it should be published, will not be biased by, impressive titles or impressive venues. And they send the article out to 3 or more professionals in the area that are experts in that area, that the topic area. And those experts go over the article with a fine-tooth comb, and they'll have the journal will give them a list of questions to answer about the article. And they'll go over it with a fine-tooth comb, and they will look for, any problems with it. And sometimes the possibility is that there's no problems, and they'll give it the green light. No problems with this article. I recommend that it be published. Or they might give it a yellow light, so to speak, where they say, well, there's some problems. Maybe there was a problem in the math. Maybe there was a problem in how they did something about their methodology. Maybe it's something they can fix, right? Maybe they just didn't have enough references to past research on the topic, and it could be rejected for that. So they indicate what the problems are and say, do not publish it with these problems. They do not have a green light for publishing. However, you might return it to the original author researcher and invite them to fix the problems and resubmit at a later date. So that's a second scenario. And then the third scenario is there's a flaw in the research that's so severe it cannot be fixed. So if, for example, let's say it was a sampling error. If they have a sampling error, you can't fix it, because you have to go back and redo the study all over again with correct sampling procedures. This is why sampling is really, really important, and we'll talk about that, when we talk about the lesson on research. So you want peer reviewed. what you don't want, even when you click peer reviewed, you might get some book reviews. You don't want those. You know, you might get some articles where, let's say there's a journal and it's a journal on family health, and this month's journal is, let's say this, comes from a physical print copy of from December of 2001, and that month they focused on mothers and children, access to care for mothers and children. And then there's a bunch of all the articles in that journal that month are about that topic, different aspects of that topic. And then there's a little write-up in the beginning by the editor that might be a couple of pages long and even have some references and stuff that kind of looks like an article, but it's not research. They're just framing the whole journal content for that month, and they're saying, here's the topic, here's something important, why it's important, here's the things that are talked to, are the different articles that we're publishing in this edition address about that topic. So sometimes that'll come up as if it's an article, a separate article. You don't want that. Okay, you want an article that's written by the researcher who actually did the research, or a group of them that did, and that has a description of the research and the findings of the research in it. Okay, so and that's peer reviewed or refereed. Okay, so having that said, that I'm just going to do this search school shootings. Now, if I didn't say peer reviewed, I bet I would come up with 100 million newspaper articles about school shootings, right? Because that's something that would have been heavily in the newspaper, but that's not going to be research on it. Okay, so then it gives me 1,418 articles. Well, that's a lot, right? That might be that's a lot for me to try to go through. So how could I narrow it down? Well, one way I can narrow it down, well, it won't help much, because if I click academic journals, it'll eliminate 2 of them that are just magazines, so might as well. I don't want the 2 magazines. Another way that I can narrow it down is now I've done that, and it's only 14, 16 articles. Another way I can narrow it down is the dates. Well, I don't want old, outdated information, right? This says from 1955 to 2023. Well, that's too old. Normally, when you're doing research, you should look for things in the last 5 years. Well, so that means that you would look for things from around, say, 2018 to 2023, okay? Or 2017 maybe to 2023. Now, for your class, I'm going to give you a little more breathing room, and I'm going to say do like 10 years, okay? But just know that when you go further in your degree and you're writing some important papers, especially if you're writing a thesis or a dissertation down the road, with the exception of special articles and special books and things that are landmark ones about that topic that should always be referred back to, you're going to want to go usually nothing older than 5 years. So in this case, I'm going to do 2013 to 2023. Okay. Now, when I do that eliminates about 2/3, right, of the articles, and brings me down to around 600. So I have 600 articles with full text that are peer reviewed, that are published within the last 10 years. Now, another way, that are all academic journals. So that's good. Now, that you could work within that, you could scroll within that. That's still kind of a lot. So you could narrow that down even more. It might make it easier for you. How about geography? Now, since you're doing a study of a social problem that's in the United States, you don't need the ones for other countries, do you? Now, if you were doing a paper where let's say you want to look at school shootings all over the world, then yeah, you need information about all over the world. In fact, that would be a really big project, way too big for a paper for a single class. Okay, so I want you to narrow your work on your paper and the social problem you're researching down to just the United States. Not because I think the United States is the only thing that's important, but it's because it's too much to try to do a broader area. And the things that you're going to be studying, like the causes and the extent of the problem and so on, all the things you're going to be studying about your topic may be very different from one country to another. So it makes more, and also, unless you're looking for a global solution, then a lot of such problems are going to be tackled at the local level, or at least at the country level. So we're going to limit it to United States. And when we do that, wow, it dropped us down to only 85 articles. So that's great, because 85, we can actually scroll through 85. Okay. So if they're showing us 10, it's going to be only 9 pages that we would have to flip through to look at the titles for all of them. And clearly that, a lot of them are not going to be useful to you. Right. So, as you look through here and you see one that you think would be interesting, you can go to the next page, right? If you were looking for a intervention, this looks like it might have something to do with that. New York State and New York SAFE Act, a case study in strict gun laws. Well, no, that's a study. Well, that might be useful to you for background information. I thought maybe it was, when it said act, that it was some kind of intervention that they had done in the state. And that when you're looking for, because in your paper, you're going to look for information about defining the problem. You're going to look for information about the extent of the problem, right? The scope of the problem, and you're going to look for information about interventions for the problem. So sometimes you can kind of see articles and say, oh, that might be about intervention. That might be have information about the definition. Another one might be, about the other things that you're needing to look at. So how bad it is, so here's one that looks like it might be about an intervention. Okay. School safety and violence, drawing on a public health approach. So let's click on that one. I'm going to click on that one. Now, if I can tell just by reading this, that this is definitely an article that I want, I can go ahead and click PDF full text and download it. If I'm not sure, I can click on the name of the article, and it's going to bring up more info. It's going to bring up the abstract, and I can read this one paragraph summary of the whole thing. And when I read that, I can decide whether it's useful or not, because sometimes it looks like it's going to be useful, and when you see the abstract, you're like, that's going to be a waste of my time. It's not really zeroing in on my topic well enough. Or the other way around, this looks like a really great article, so. But when you do that, then you can also, from this page, do PDF full text. And what we want is PDF full text. We don't want other kinds. We don't want HTML full text. If you have a choice between HTML or PDF, use the PDF. And there's several reasons for that. One is the PDF is like a photograph of the page, so you know that it's exactly like it was in the original written form. Number two, sometimes in the HTML, you don't get it doesn't copy all the parts of it when you try to transfer it. So you could read it and see them all, but it doesn't. You have to click on different parts to open up other parts, and then like say a chart or table, and it might not bring that table down if you're just downloading it to look at later. So click on full PDF full text, and it brings the article up, and it looks very much like it does in the printed form, right? So that way you have page numbers. So if you've made a direct quote from this page, when you're citing it in your paper, you can cite page 309. Okay. So you know what it is. So this is a short article. Most of them are going to be about 30 pages or so. This is a short one. It is only 13 pages, right? So we can see that. So now what you want to do is, and sometimes I'll just give you a little tip. When you look at the references, that if you find a really good article that really hits your topic on target, then you may look at their references, because you may see some other recent articles that they used in their study that you could also use in yours, and then you just look those up too. And it's a quick way to find things that are directly about the same exact topic. Okay, so what we want to do, click on the little icon that looks like a 3.5-inch floppy disk, right? We're going to click on the disk icon to save, and it's going to bring up a place on our computer, and I would create a special folder for it. You know, right? I'd create a special folder for your one on your computer, and then save it to that. And notice that down here, I don't know if you can see it well, tiny print, it says retrieve.pdf. You need to change that name, because if you don't, and then you upload another article afterward, the second article will also be called retrieve.pdf, and it will erase the first one you did in favor of the second one. And when you do a third one, it'll erase the second one in favor of the third one, and you'll wind up with one article, even though you maybe did that 10 times and you found 10 great articles, and now you're stuck, right? So what I do is I look at the name and the author and the title. So the author's last name is Rajan. The date that it was published is what was the date of it? I should have looked more carefully at that. The date was 2021. So Rajan 2021. So I'm gonna name it that. The author's last name, Rajan dash 2021 dash, and then something about the title that reminds me which one this is out of all the articles that I'm going to have, right? And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to say school violence, public health approach. Okay. Now, that when I see that in my folder, that's enough for me to know which one it is, and it's going to automatically be alphabetized in the folder by author's last name, which is exactly the way you're going to put it in your bibliography when you do your paper. So now what I do is I'm going to go ahead and just save, and that it'll save that PDF to my folder in my computer. Then I go back to our class, and back in our class, I go to this discussion area. Okay. And you can start a new one if you want to. Okay. Let's say articles on. Okay. I'm going to do that. And then what I'm going to do is, you could type something about it, like the name of the article and stuff here, right? And then you could add an attachment. And when you click add an attachment, it has your place to upload. Click upload to upload the file. Go to the, where did I put that thing? Go to where you put it before. I didn't look what main directory it was in. But you find the article, right? let's say that you just let's say that this file right here was the article. Okay, so you click on the name of it and then you click open, and it will upload it to, it'll add it as an attachment to that, to your discussion post, and then you can just post it. Okay, and then it's going to be there under that new thread for everyone to be able to read and actually could discuss it and comment about it in there too. But I just want to see that you can do it, you know, that you can find it and identify, you know, stuff from it. Okay. Does that, everybody understand that? Okay. Is that good? You think you can do it? So go find me one research journal article about your social problem topic. Look for things about the definition of it or how bad it is, the scope of it, or interventions, programs that address it, or all three. Okay, find at least one. You got next class to work on it. This class and next class, whatever's left of this class, which is much, but next class period, work on that, and then we'll meet again on Tuesday. And you should have it posted before Tuesday so I can kind of look over them and we can talk about it a little bit on Tuesday. Okay. All right. I'll see you then. Bye.